Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about the pros and cons of hiring a lead gen agency for your business. If you haven't hired a lead gen agency in the past, there are some landmines that you should definitely avoid and give it some serious consideration so that you know all the pros and cons going into it, okay? That way you're not going to blow a bunch of time, blow a bunch of money on a lead gen agency, only to regret it later. Maybe trash talk lead gen agencies altogether, when in reality, maybe they just didn't have a fair shake. So you would definitely want to avoid all that. So before you sign that agency contract, you have to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. So in this video, I'm going to give you the insider scoop that's going to save you a whole bunch of headaches as it relates to hiring a lead gen agency for your business. And just in case you're wondering what this was in the background, if you're looking at my surroundings, I just want to brag. My daughter has made me the #1 dad. So I don't know if anyone else in the world has this, but I feel pretty special because I have one. All right, let's dive into the video. If you're new to the channel, then you probably haven't seen this style of video. I have a Notion document where I document and save all of this information. So if you want to make a copy of it, you absolutely can. The link for that is in the description. If you watch this video in its entirety, here's what you are going to learn and the benefits for you. You're going to be able to make informed decisions about hiring a lead gen agency, all the benefits, drawbacks, all that kind of stuff. Optimize your resources so you can learn how to outsource lead generation and how it can save you time, allowing your team to focus on core business activities. You can even improve your lead quality. You can enhance your scalability by staying flexible in your business using lead gen agencies. You can mitigate your risk. It's riskier to hire full-time employees for sure, with less domain expertise. And you can ultimately boost your marketing strategy or sales strategy and get better results. So if that sounds good, keep watching. If you aren't familiar with me, my name is Patrick Spielman. Let me just put this here. Patrick Spielman. I'm the founder and CEO of Upticks, which is a sales automation CRM. And I've helped tens of thousands of salespeople and over 3,000 customers boost their sales with these strategies that I talk about. Everything I talk about is based on experience. I'm also a former six-time award-winning master franchise at a company called Sculpture Hospitality. And I even ran a 7-figure sales agency. So everything I talk about is really based on experience. But enough about me, let's get into this. First, starting off with just a quick definition. If you're watching this and you're not familiar with a lead gen agency, maybe that's a different video. But just to clarify, agencies basically specialize in finding potential customers for your business. And they can use different models like cold email, social media marketing, paid advertising, SEO. There's a whole bunch of different types of lead gen agencies. But ultimately, the goal is to help you find potential customers for your business. It's one of the best things that you could hire an agency for, to get more money. That sounds great. And when should you use a lead gen agency? And these scenarios are when you should even use, before we can get into the pros and cons, here's when you should use a lead gen agency. When you have limited internal resources. So if your team lacks the time or expertise or tools to effectively generate leads, you could consider hiring a lead gen agency. Now, maybe you also consider hiring somebody as well, but the downside to that is you have to hire somebody to do it, and they might not have the domain expertise that you're looking for. Might not actually be the best move. Maybe you have a scaling need. You want to quickly scale up, meet your business growth needs, or even seasonal demands, or you just want to have a consistent engine going in your business. Maybe you want to stay focused on your core activities that you're really good at. Maybe you're a really good operator. Maybe you are really good at servicing customers. Maybe you're just really good at your domain expertise and you want to stay focused on that. And you don't want to get distracted with all the business marketing and sales stuff. So if that's the case, that's a good time or reason to use a lead gen agency. Or maybe you're just struggling to get quality leads. Some businesses have a hard time getting quality leads. Sometimes quality is better than quantity. So those could all be good times to hire a lead gen agency. So what are the pros? So the pros, of course, the first thing are going to be the expertise and experience. So one of the biggest advantages for a lead gen agency is going to be their expertise. Because more times than not, these agencies started by having domain expertise in a specific category. Maybe they were an employee at companies before, and let's just say they're really good at cold email, and they decided to start a cold email agency. Well, they probably figured out all these things to do, to not do, optimize different strategies, all that kind of stuff. So they're going to have the experience and expertise. Usually, you could run into ones that don't, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But they're going to have a shortcut to converting leads more effectively, getting leads more effectively. Time and resource savings. So outsourcing your lead gen can save you a lot of time. If you were to have to hire somebody internally, train them, onboard them, manage them, hold them accountable, all that kind of stuff, and then run the risk of them not really working out, and now you've spent a lot of time and money and you've built a more breakable system, that might not be as good. But outsourcing can save you a lot of time, allowing you to focus on more critical tasks in your business or closing deals, so on and so forth. Scalability. So a lot of times lead gen agencies have the capacity to scale up efforts more easily because they have people usually, or infrastructures or systems or automations or processes that can help you scale processes that you wouldn't be able to scale yourself. They just have the expertise. They might even have the bandwidth, so they can help you scale faster. They have access to advanced tools and technologies usually because agencies have to stay very innovative and constantly reinvent themselves and constantly figure out how to optimize for conversions and generate more leads and all that kind of stuff. So what that means is they have access to more cutting edge tools and technologies that you might not even be familiar with, might not know how to use. You might not even knew they exist at all. So those are some of the reasons why you might want to hire a lead gen agency. Now on the flip side, let's talk about the cons. Cons are going to come, mostly the top con that you're probably going to have is going to be the cost. So this is going to be like the biggest drawback here. So hiring a lead gen agency can be very expensive and not feasible for everybody. What you have to understand is that they're an expert at what they do, usually. What this means is they're going to give you a very big shortcut. They're also probably going to save a bunch of time and money and trial and error hiring people trying to do this yourself, or buying courses, learning, and then getting distracted from all the things in your business that you like to focus on. So yes, agencies can be expensive, but rightfully so. They should be expensive. They should also produce an ROI, of course. That's a piece to the puzzle. So that's going to be probably your biggest objection a lot of times for most of you. The next con is going to be loss of control. So anytime you outsource something, you're adding a layer of friction, basically. So you're going to lose some control. You're also going to lose control if you hire somebody. But unlike an employee who's responsible to reporting to you, if you hire a lead gen agency and they have employees, they really report usually to the lead gen agency owner. So there's kind of a layer of friction or a layer of accountability there that gets removed a little bit. So this can be a little bit of a concern by losing that control, that maybe you lose out on, just quality of service or quality of what you might be doing. But of course, all of this can be negated by having the pros of this as well. So it all just depends on your preference, your personality, your business needs, all that kind of stuff. Your quality of leads. So, just depending on your structure, you could end up with lower quality leads. You might be you might want to prospect. Let's just say I'm going to use a cold email agency, for instance. Let's just say you hire a cold email agency and you do the dumb thing and you hire them on a pay per lead. Well, they're going to want to feed you every single lead they possibly can because they're only eating what they hunt. And you might say, well, these leads are garbage because you don't want to pay for them, which I think is a big mistake, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But they want to feed you leads, and the leads might be valid to them. But for you, you want to get on a call with somebody who's ready to close right now. And the reality is that usually does not happen. It's a false sense of reality. The lead gen agency would have to pay or charge you so much money to do that. It's way too much risk. We'll talk about that in a second. So it's crucial to find an agency who can really focus on quality leads. There could be some communication challenges. So again, because they're a layer removed from your business and there's that agency layer there, they're not an internal team member. They're not going to be joining your calls. They can't just get on calls with you at the drop of a hat anytime you reach out to them. They can't just, say, when you say jump, they say how high. That's not really how an agency works. They have other clients they have to service as well. So there could be some communication challenges there, or maybe even misunderstandings. This can happen because you're not communicating as frequently. And the last one I'll mention here is channel match. So not every channel to help you generate leads is best for your specific needs in your business. So if you hire an agency who focuses on a specific channel, maybe call it cold email, that might not be the best channel for you. Let's say you're a real estate agent. Cold email is probably not the best channel for you to hire an agency for. Can you get results with cold email? Yeah, you can in some capacity, maybe channel partners and stuff like that. But it might not be the best channel for you to hire a lead gen agency. And just keep in mind, this isn't their fault. If you come to them about their service, they're probably going to want to close a deal. Now, good ones who don't need a lot of business might tell you, hey, this isn't a really good fit. That's fantastic. But many agencies aren't in that position. And sometimes those are people that you actually want to do business with. The ones who need the business are oftentimes the one that you actually usually want to hire because they'll work harder for you. You matter more to them. When you get into these bigger agencies who don't need your business, it's a cookie cutter operation, in, out, and it just isn't as important to them. Okay, so channel matches is super important. So those are the cons. Now I want to give you some tips for choosing the right lead gen agency. I want to talk about young agencies versus established agencies. So some agency owners are just getting started. And this is great because it can come at a lower cost to you. The trade-off, though, is that they might have less credibility and just less experience being an agency owner. What I would give you in terms of advice is to check the resume on LinkedIn, see if they have domain expertise. If for some reason they don't, like, of course, you'd probably want to ask them if they've gone through courses, if they have other clients, so on and so forth. But usually they have some sort of domain expertise. Now, on the flip side, established agencies, they're going to cost you a lot more money. And a lot of that money doesn't go directly towards the service that's getting provided. There's a lot of overhead that you're paying for in an agency. For more of the established ones, they have staff, they have managers, so on and so forth. Or it's just going towards expertise, which is a good thing. An overhead can be a good thing. That means there could be more potential for success, more potential for better results, maybe consistent results, maybe less risk. The risk might not always be worth the reward. There's a trade-off here. You may want to consider a young, motivated person, and yeah, they're starting an agency, but I don't want to say you want to treat them like an employee. You should treat them like they're an expert and let them do their thing. But you could have a benefit here that you could have closer relationship with them if they don't have a huge roster full of clients. Your business might mean a lot to them. So you could, in a way, get a little bit of the best of both worlds of like hiring an employee versus hiring an agency. But just understand they're probably going to hire and find some more clients at some point. But hopefully by that time they've figured out processes, systems, automations, things to keep things consistent for you. The next one I want to talk about for tips is PPL, which is pay per lead or pay per close, whatever you want to call it, or any revenue share versus paying a retainer versus a combination of these and how you compensate the agency. I see a lot of people, mostly brokies, who want to hire agencies on a pay-per-lead basis. And of course, who doesn't want to do risk-free growth? But what you want to think about, and you're going to find I'm not a huge fan of pay-per-lead agencies, who in their right mind, who is good, even if they're young and they have domain expertise, if they're good, why in the heck would they want to come work for you and assume 100% of the risk? Why? Maybe some younger agencies, sure, who really need the business and really need to get some experience under their belt. But I'll just tell you, lead generation is hard, especially doing it for someone else's business. It is hard. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but you're going to have a bigger learning curve by hiring an employee who doesn't really know what the heck they're doing. What incentive does that agency owner have if what they do is not working and producing immediately, which most of the time it doesn't? They have zero incentive to continue to work their butts off for you day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, because there's no incentive. There's no exchange of value, no money. Basically, you're saying, I don't value your time. And it is a very arrogant concept, a very arrogant way of thinking if you as the business owner say, well, if this is an agency, if they're so cocky and think that they can drive all these leads and they're so confident in their process, then they should be able to do this and, generate consistent results. Yeah, but your offer might suck too. Your website might suck. You might have 100 competitors who do things better than you, but they might still want to try to help you grow. Some of that stuff can take time. That's just an example. But it's stupid to think just because they're an agency owner and they're good at what they do means they should take all the risk for your business. And the best ones, the best one I give are the consumers, the people who want to hire agencies and only pay on a closed deal. You need to go make more money before you even consider hiring an agency if all you can do is pay somebody when they close a deal. Nobody who is good in their right mind, you could not hire me. And we have agency services, by the way, for our software and services with upticks. You couldn't hire me on a pay-per-deal basis. Daniel Fazio, the Client Ascension owner, said this like, great, how about I just copy your company and take 100% myself? If I'm going to work for free for your business, why don't I just do it myself and own it? Why would I work? And obviously I'm good at what I do. Or you go hire somebody and gamble. Which do you want? You don't want to gamble. You don't want to take people and hire a lead gen agency who wants a pay-per-lead deal, because the second they don't produce for you, they will move on to the next client. They will move on to the next client. And it is not their fault. Your offer might suck. They can't control that. So you have to assume responsibility for that. Yes, should the agency maybe not take you on it as a client? Sure, but nobody can predict the future. And you're going to be left with a bad taste in your mouth when you've paid maybe a setup fee or you've wasted a bunch of time only to find out that they can't get you the results they want. They're going to focus on the clients that they can get results who are exchanging them money. So don't be a brokey. Pay them a retainer or a retainer plus a pay-per-lead deal. Next couple tips, do, research the potential agency, check for reviews, that kind of stuff. Set clear objectives, KPIs to measure success. It can take a while to hit some of these things. There's iteration. Take, for instance, our cold email agency. It can take a while to iterate copy. It can take a while to scale up. We like to slow down before we speed up. You don't want to scale up a bad formula. So like cold email, I don't want to scale up bad copy, bad converting copy. And sometimes this takes a while to figure out. You don't want to scale that up, so it can take time, but have some KPIs and some clear objectives. Q1, Q2, Q3, that kind of thing. And you can't forecast Q3, but at least have something for Q1. Regular communication, weekly reports, weekly meetings, that kind of stuff. And maybe you want to consider a trial period, but I do not recommend month to month. It's not good. It puts you as the buyer in a mindset that, I can just get rid of this whenever. But you might actually be shooting yourself in the foot, because it can take time, as I just mentioned, to figure things out. Like for us with the cold email agency, it can just take time to figure out copy, subject lines, offers, call to actions. Like this stuff can just take time. And you've owned your business for how long? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years. You haven't figured it out. So how could an agency figure it out in the course of like a month? It's impossible. No matter how good you are. This stuff still takes time. Sure, but you can't disregard the fact that there's still a shortcut. It's not going to take them years to figure this out. It might take months. But if you haven't figured it out in years, how are they going to figure it out in days or weeks? So don't do some sort of short trial period and think that, I'll just get rid of them whenever and beat them down on a contract. Sure, maybe a year is too long, but week to week or day to day or month to month is too short. So maybe quarterly or like a semi-annual contract or something could be good. What you don't want to do is you don't want to fire someone, an agency, when they're 90% across the ocean. They swam across the ocean, made it 90% of the way there, and then right before they get to the other side, you fire them. What if they just went that extra 10%? And then all of a sudden, things clicked, and then they were able to scale, and life was different. You don't want to make that mistake, do you? So obviously, there's a fine line between giving time and then figuring out if this thing's going to work or not. You have to make the decision, but don't shoot yourself in the foot. So those are the pros and cons. I want to give you an alternative, which would be, or could be, hiring a specialist to implement strategies. So if you're considering options beyond hiring a lead gen agency, you might want to explore an implementation style specialist versus a managed recurring service. Here's how it works. Basically, a domain expert, and my company, full disclosure, does this. So we have our software, and I've had an agency, and some people, it's just better to implement the thing that I know into their business for them versus running it for them. So what an implementation person could do is build you a customized strategy, work closely with your team to develop that strategy and align it with your goals and your target audience. You ultimately get hands-on training with your internal team to give them the skills and knowledge needed to execute on those campaigns, whatever lead gen strategy it is. And then ideally they have some sort of support to answer questions. And the reasons why you would want to choose this option would be just greater control over the processes. It's kind of the best of both worlds between like hiring somebody brand new for this thing and then hiring an agency. It's like you're hiring the agency and you're having your team do it. So this can give you greater control, allowing for adjustments, optimizations, so on and so forth. It can be more cost effective in the long run. You might have a one-time investment or an upfront fee or something like that, but they're going to help you cut out a huge learning curve, a huge shortcut, and it won't come typically with the huge ongoing agency fees, most that are warranted, of course. You can enhance your internal capabilities. So now your team is going to gain valuable insights and information on how to do the thing. It's teaching somebody how to fish instead of fishing for them. The saying of, teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime, right? And then you've got flexibility. So at your will, you could scale things up at likely a more cost-effective strategy. So when to consider this? If you do have some budget constraints, maybe, if you can't afford a $5,000 a month retainer, for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, but maybe you can afford a $10,000 one-time thing to learn all the domain expertise. If you have a desire for internal growth and you really want to grow your internal team out, maybe you hire in regular employees or bringing on freelancers or VAs or something like that, that could be helpful. Or if you just have a specific business need that requires a customized approach. So like our agency, like cold email, for instance, if you just want the best of like what we help people implement and do, and you can learn it, it's pretty quick, and then you want to take it, run with it, customize it, so on and so forth, then fantastic. You can absolutely do that. So that's what I have for you on this video. So these are the pros and cons to consider when hiring a lead gen agency. If you have any questions or experiences to share, comment down below. And don't forget to give this video a like, a share, and subscribe for any more insights. And if you found this video very helpful and you're looking for a new tool to help you with lead generation, I'd love for you to check out my software Upticks, which helps you basically automate lead nurturing, follow-ups, cold email, multi-channel prospecting. We have the best sales sequencer on the planet, and you can sign up for our free trial at upticks.io to help you transform your lead gen efforts. Thanks so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.